Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Weihrauch. And in today's episode, we ask the question, is your marriage declining? This is based on an article I read this week by social scientists who were noting a phenomena that happens in any relationship, but especially marriage, over time. And that is that marriages gradually decline. Without intentional work, your marriage regresses. It doesn't progress. Maybe a better way of saying it is without intentional work, your marriage doesn't tread water. It begins to drown. It's not because of you or who you are. It's just true in human relationships. There are a couple reasons for that. First, negativity is more powerful than positivity. So we just tend to see things in a negative light, and we tend to talk about them in a negative light. So the longer you're with any person, the more you're going to see that you feel negative about, and the more you're going to say your negative thoughts and feelings about that thing. The other side of that is that destructive words live with us longer than constructive words. So the reality is that on a day-to-day basis, someone you're around for a long period of time, you might say 5 really nice things and 1 really hard thing, and it's just human nature. They're going to hold on to that 1 really hard thing. Now you multiply that by a decade of marriage, and you end up with a lot of wounds. And the truth is, all of us who are married know you bring into your marriage your insecurities and your fear. So if over time we get more negative, we say things that are more negative, we hold on to things that are negative, and we were already insecure and afraid, it's really a recipe for disaster. And what the social scientists said is that men and women tend to process this differently. Women share their negativity, often speaking criticism, and men withdraw from negativity, often retreating inwardly. And so marriages don't make it, or they last, but in this state where the woman feels like she's talking and no one's listening, and the man feels like she's always talking, but he doesn't really care. And that might, I hope not, but it might describe your marriage currently. But of course, we don't just want to let you know marriages decline on their own. We want to call you to something better, something higher. That's because that's what the Bible does. The Bible has an incredible vision for your marriage. 2 things the Bible says that marriage does. First, marriage is supposed to lead to your sanctification. Ephesians 5 tells us that husbands loving their wives and wives loving their husbands is part of God's design to make us holy. So the consequence of butting up against our spouse's, let's say, shortcomings, the things we're negative about, is to see them as opportunities to speak love and truth and grace. When they butt up against our shortcomings, for them to speak love and truth and grace into our lives, so that as a result, what might have been an opportunity for destruction actually becomes an opportunity for construction. Your marriage isn't ultimately about your day-to-day, minute-by-minute satisfaction. And that's good news, because no relationship with a human brings you minute-by-minute, day-by-day satisfaction. Your marriage is about what God is doing in and through your life and in and through your spouse. That's why the second purpose of marriage is to actually picture the gospel, the God who loves us, the God who sees our shortcomings and overcomes them with love and grace. Marriage is meant to show what love can do between 2 sinners under the umbrella of God, which is why I have to tell you that if you're a Christian and your marriage is declining, without even knowing your story, I can tell you that's because your relationship with Jesus Christ is declining. Because the reality is that Christians are supposed to first drink deeply of their own relationship with Jesus, the one who sees our shortcomings and yet always brings grace, always brings love, always speaks truth, always speaks promises of construction, what he will do, what he is doing, what he has done. And when we drink deeply of that, the reality is when we turn to what's negative about our spouse, we have learned the skill of speaking the gospel into shortcomings. If we don't drink deeply of the love that Jesus has for us, then when we turn to our spouse, we will only have our internal reservoir of truth and grace and hope and love. And you and I both know it doesn't take very long for that reservoir to run dry. Is your marriage declining? Maybe, but it doesn't have to be. Run to Jesus. Let him speak truth and grace into your shortcomings and ask him while he's doing it to teach you how to speak truth and grace to your spouse. We are meant to live marriages that are eternally meaningful. Why would we settle for anything else? Hey, thanks so much for watching this episode of Wake Up, Look Up. While you're here, take a minute to like and subscribe. It really helps us get the word out. Don't hesitate to leave a review wherever you might find this podcast on an audio level and help spread the word. And hey, while you're here, check out all the other content we have at Christ Community Chapel on YouTube. Some of those videos are popping up on the screen now. Click on one.